Eerily haunting true stories about remote abandoned locations rich in history. Come with us in our travels from state to state, if you dare.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us going in the fucking hill.
Hello?
Judy, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
So welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Yeah, welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Just came from my mom's house. I know everybody would like my weekly updates, so I'm going to start with me.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
I just got back from my mom and dad's house. That was it.
Oh, that's it?
We made pizza. That was it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Family pizza night.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
yeah, my aunt bought this pizza oven. And so you make it, your own dough, you put everything together, right? So she was all excited. So we're going to do a family dinner night where we all bring like dough and sauce and we all put it all together. But it's funny because she tells the story about how, this pizza oven costs $400.
Oh.
Well, $3.99. So we rounded down to $300, but it was $400. But with all the accessories and everything you buy with it, it ends up being $600. So like you have to make a lot of pizzas because the first pizza you're paying $100 a slice. And then, you got to break, if you break it down, right?
Yeah.
So
Got to get your money's worth.
the more you use it, the more you get your money's worth.
How come you didn't bring me any pizza?
I do. I actually have some in the car.
Oh.
Did you want a slice? I didn't know if you
Well, now
wanna
it's sitting
try
in
it.
the car.
I know it was. It's been in the car. It's cold outside.
It is.
So I figured like instead of trailing it in here.
I was looking at the weather and it's supposed to be 91 degrees next Monday.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Why does it have to go so extreme?
Yeah, I don't know. Because right now it's really cold and next Monday it's supposed to be 91 degrees.
Is it all
Yeah, it just
uphill from there or downhill?
I don't know.
how
That's as
you wanna
far as
put it.
that's as far as I can look. But every day it just gets a little warmer and a little warmer and a little warmer until we get to next Monday at 91.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's in April. That's hot for April.
It is. So hopefully it doesn't last very
Yeah.
long. Hopefully
That's a little
it's
bit
just
extreme.
a couple days and then we'll be done. I don't know. I hate the summer. I hate the heat. I hate it all.
So I heard that you went to, you told me before you went, but to Dan's to
I
record
did.
our Patreon episode.
I did. I was on Rare From Radio's Patreon episode for March, and then I was on there with Dan and Heidi, and then Dan and I did our Patreon, just him and I, because Shannon's been busy.
I've been,
She's
working Starbucks.
working at Starbucks. So
Welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you this evening?
so we did a couple Patreon episodes, and we were saying like it wasn't the same without Shannon there. It wasn't as funny.
No, it was hilarious.
We did Mad Libs though, because you haven't seen our Patreon episode
haven't
because
seen
I
yours
just
yet.
edited it and put it up today. But Dan and I did Mad Libs, and it was really funny, but I think it would have been way funnier if you were there. So we're gonna have to do that again. So
I saw the one that you were on with Dan
Where
and
From Radio.
Heidi.
Yeah.
And I could not stop laughing.
I know, but it's
And
always more fun when you're there, I think.
Oh,
Because you're just
thank you.
funny.
But I want to say, this is where I'm going to plug in Dan. But if you don't listen to that podcast, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's not true crime. It's not down
No.
this alley, but it is freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
And-
they're funny. Dan has been a good friend of mine for many, many years, and so it has nothing to do with. I know we do a lot of collaborations with them because a lot of our listeners are from Rare From Radio, and so I like to have either him or Todd or Heidi on because our Patreons know them and they like them. And so I try to have them on our bonus episodes. But if you just like ridiculous humor, inappropriate, yeah, I mean,
mixed with current events, definitely.
Yeah, they cover all kinds of stuff. And yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
You're literally laughing. And Dan's wife, she's not on there all the time. She just kind of does their cameras and stuff, but I don't even have to see her when I'm telling. I've said it so many times before. When she starts laughing, I can't, like, I don't even have to know what they're laughing about. Like, it's funny. So
make
sure to
good
check
show.
them out.
Yeah.
So, so today's episode, we are back in Houston.
Yes.
And it's a sad one again.
Yeah. I feel like we can do 50 states
of Houston.
Of Houston or 50, what is it? No, we got 50 states of madness, something about Houston madness or something like that. Not even like Texas madness.
Yeah. Houston.
Just alone.
Houston was rough, man.
Yeah.
It's a rough city. It really is. We've said it over and over on here, but
and I want to say that it's probably no different than Los Angeles, and we probably have the same amount of crime and all that stuff. And
I think I was just expecting something different when we went. But yeah, it's a sad one today. So I mean, not that any of the other ones that we've done are happy, but but it's another sad one. So, and
this one's gonna get pretty graphic.
Yes,
and they are under the age of 18.
Yes,
the two girls that we're going to be talking about.
Yes,
so
we're going to be talking about two girls, Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena, and it was actually a case that was suggested by a listener.
Yes.
So this was one that we hadn't heard about, and so we always ask you guys if you have any suggestions, any cases that you want us to research or do or look up or talk about or whatever. So this one was actually suggested by a listener. So yeah. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to talk about Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena today. So Elizabeth Christine Pena was born on June 21st, 1977, and Jennifer Lee Ertman was born on August 15th, 1978. The two girls attended Waltrip High School in Houston, Texas. Both girls' parents approved of their friendship, and according to Elizabeth's dad, Jennifer had been a very positive influence in Elizabeth's life. Elizabeth had gone through a period of teenage rebellion, and when she became friends with Jennifer, he said she just straightened up her act. So it sounds like she was, probably doing what most teenagers do, pushing the limits, testing, am I going to get in trouble? Am I not going to get in trouble? But it sounds like when the two got together, Jennifer was a good influence on her and she straightened up.
Yeah, and it's so cute because we're going to put up pictures. So check us out on YouTube if you're listening to us. But the pictures, super cute on some of the girls. Mm-hmm. They're so 80s. Oh, yeah. When I was looking at the photos, I was like, I had that hair. Oh, yeah. I wore those acid wash jeans.
Oh, yeah, the hair's good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, the style,
it's good.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, spot on for the 80s. Like, if you said 80s, like, that was what we
especially
all walked
Jennifer.
Around. Yes.
Yeah. With her bangs.
The Aquanet.
Yes. If you're anywhere, if you're a 70s baby, you know what we're talking about.
And I'm gonna send it to you, but I'll send a picture of me with my hair. And maybe you can do a side-by-side comparison, but it was so 80s.
Oh, yeah.
It was so great.
My high school graduation picture was like, my bangs were just like a fan.
I was going to say, like, it was so funny because sometimes you'd have just the one little loop down, like, little bit of hair, but the back part.
Oh, yeah. It's like a peacock.
I did one where I don't know what I was thinking, but I am not kidding you. If you've seen the movie, There's Something About Mary, that was my bangs in high school. Like, it just literally, it just took gel and went like this, and I got a whole, like, a surfer can surf off the bangs.
The funniest part is, like, we thought we looked really hot.
That was it. I mean,
we looked good.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
You have to find
we'll
some
have to.
of those,
I will. I'll have to look for some pictures.
Yeah, some of those 80s
Yeah,
photos.
send me
those
some
pictures.
of you.
I'll try
Those
to
will be
find
good.
them. Yes.
Okay, so around 4:15 p.m. on June 24th, 1993, Jennifer's father, Randy, drove her to Elizabeth's house. At approximately 8 p.m., Elizabeth's mother, Melissa, drove the two girls to Gina Escamilla's apartment, who was a friend from school. Gina was having some kids over for a pool party. The girls were going to be sleeping at Elizabeth's house that night, and they had a curfew of 11:30 p.m. and promised Elizabeth's mom that they would be home on time. At the party, the girls lost track of time and realized that they were going to be late returning home, so they decided to take a shortcut. By following the railroad tracks and cutting through T.C. Jester Park, this would cut about 10 minutes off their walk. The park was about 1 mile from Elizabeth's house. While walking along the White Oak Bayou, the two girls encountered some boys that were said to be gang members from a gang called the Black and White Gang. The boys' names were Peter Cantu, Efren Perez, Derek O'Brien, Jose Medlin, and Ramon Sandoval. And they had all gathered here at this park to initiate a boy by the name of Raul Villarreal into their gang. There was also a boy by the name of Venancio Medlin and Frank Sandoval, and they were both there. They were with the group, but they were the younger brothers of Jose and Ramon. So
That were the gang members.
yeah. So
And it's not unusual during that time for us to walk home, like from a
Yeah.
party at 11 o'clock at night. Like
No,
in
times
the
were
80s,
different.
Yeah.
times were different for sure.
Yeah. I would walk everywhere.
Oh yeah. I was either on my bike, my roller skates, or walking.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And we were always outside. It wasn't this where you're here today on your phone, inside,
didn't have any of that.
gaming. We didn't have parents. A lot of us, I don't even know the percentage, but we were latchkey kids.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you don't know that
Oh,
term. Parents were working full time. We'd come home. We have keys to the house. We'd come home.
Or
go
you
in.
don't have a key to your house and you try to pick the lock with the bobby pin like I did and broke the lock, got in trouble. Mom had to call the locksmith. Sorry, Mom.
She was not a latchkey kid. She was the latch bobby pin kid.
Sorry, Mom. So yeah, that was, but yeah, that it wasn't,
It's not unusual.
It wasn't unusual for any of this at this time. So, but these two younger boys, they were 14 years old. So they were a little bit younger. So the gang initiation that night consisted of Raul Villarreal, fighting each member of the gang individually. At one point, it was said that Villarreal was knocked temporarily unconscious. After fighting all the members, the leader, Peter Cantu, said to Villarreal, "You're in. Dude, you're a badass. You're welcome to hang with us anytime." Villarreal then sat with the boys, talking, trading insults and compliments, and drinking beer. The boys then started walking towards the railroad tracks. The Sandoval brothers were a bit ahead of the other boys, and they passed Jennifer and Elizabeth as they walked down the path. Now, it was said that they saw these girls before they got to the other boys, to the group of boys,
Yes.
and they never
Warned them.
They never warned them. They never said anything to them. So
Yeah. And I know that I saw something that said that during trial, like I guess they were asked, why did you not warn the girls what they were walking into?
Yeah.
I just said, I don't know.
yeah, they didn't. So
Yeah.
So Jose Medlin, who was 18 years of age at the time, approached the two girls on the trail and tried to engage them both in conversation. Jose then reached out and grabbed Elizabeth's breast. When she tried to get away, Jose grabbed her by the throat and threw her to the ground. He dragged her to where all the other boys had congregated. At this time, Jennifer was far away enough from everybody that she could have run away, but hearing Elizabeth's screams for help, she ran over to help her. So it seems like she was a good enough distance away where
She probably could have run.
she could have
for
run
her-
somewhere for help or just gotten away, or
saved
but,
herself.
you know, that's a true friend.
That's
right
a best
there.
friend.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate though, because like part of me thinks like, oh, if only she would have gotten away to go get help, maybe. But you just don't know in
You
that
don't know.
situation.
Would she have got away? Would one of them have chased
Chased
her?
her,
Would it
yeah.
have been? I mean, Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Peter Cantu, who was the gang leader, and Derek O'Brien grabbed Jennifer and threw her to the ground. Peter then yelled to Ramon Sandoval, asking him if he wanted to get some. Ramon then replied, "I don't rape or kill girls." Once they had both of the girls subdued, they made the girls remove their clothing, and for the next hour, individual gang members took turns raping the girls while Venancio Medlin, he was one of the 14-year-old brothers, while he watched. During this time, the girls struggled against these boys, with Jennifer biting several of them and Elizabeth kicking them. Peter then approached the 14-year-old and suggested that he get some while he could. He also said to him that they were going to have to kill both of the girls because if they let them go, they would probably be able to identify them. So the 14-year-old Venancio did participate in the rape of Jennifer. After the boys had repeatedly raped and tortured the two girls, Peter directed the other boys to take them further into the woods. Villarreal yelled at Jennifer, "Get on your knees, bitch." The boys then beat the girls and kicked them repeatedly. Peter then stomped on Jennifer's neck until she stopped moving. They then used Derek O'Brien's nylon belt to strangle Jennifer with until the belt broke. Then they used the girl's own shoelaces to strangle her with. Elizabeth begged them not to kill her, offering to give them her phone number so they could get together later if they let her go.
She was trying everything.
She was trying everything to get away.
To save her life.
Yeah. So when this didn't work, Elizabeth tried to run from the boys, but was caught by Peter. He then repeatedly kicked her in the face and in the body. This fractured several of her ribs and knocked out 3 of her teeth. Peter Cantu, Jose Medlin, and a friend Perez then strangled Elizabeth to death with multiple shoelaces. All of the boys then took turns stomping on the girls' necks to make sure that they were dead. As the boys left the scene, Peter handed Venancio a goofy watch that was taken from Jennifer, saying, "Take this, I don't want it." So they were just taking stuff
Their
from
stuff
them.
off their bodies.
Yeah. All of the boys except for Derek O'Brien met up with Peter at his home where he lived with his brother Joe and his sister-in-law Christina. When Christina saw that Raul was bleeding and that a friend had blood on his shirt, she questioned them about what happened. Jose's response was that they had fun and that he would probably see more details on the news later. Which is disgusting.
Yeah.
He then went on to talk about the rapes. Peter later divided the valuables that they stole from the girls amongst the boys. This included a ring with the letter E on it that Jose later gave to his girlfriend at the time, whose name was Esther.
Imagine.
Yeah. Could you imagine this girl, like, you're getting a ring? Like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Never knowing that it came from a girl that your boyfriend just murdered.
Yeah. I want to say something about that later, but yeah, it's just...
It's terrible. All of them would continue to talk about the murders, saying that it would have been easier if they had guns. Once all of the boys left, Christina convinced her husband, Joe, that he needed to report his brother and the gang to the police. Joe then called the Crime Stoppers tip line. When officers started to search the area of the park, Joe called 911 and explained exactly where to find the girls. Police discovered the bodies of Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena in T.C. Jester Park on June 28, 1993, 4 days after they were murdered. A telephone trace identified the caller as Joe Cantu. Detectives interviewed Joe and Christina and learned of the gang's activity once they had returned to their home. Investigators then arrested each member of the Black and White gang for the crimes against Jennifer and Elizabeth. At the scene of the crime, Jennifer's father, Randy, had to be held back by multiple people as he was hysterical and trying to see if it was really his daughter. He was heard shouting at one point, "Does one of them have blonde hair?" Randy had been doing an interview with the news station when he heard the call go over the radio that they had found the bodies of 2 girls in the park. He immediately went to the park to see for himself. Unbeknownst to others, one of the killers, Derek O'Brien, and his younger brother were there at the park when the bodies of the girls were being removed. He was said to be watching and smiling as the authorities were working. The weather at the time on this day was extremely hot, and the girls' bodies were severely decomposed. Dental records were used for identification.
That's crazy. Like they were actually
There at the park.
Sorry.
Peter Anthony Cantu, Jose Ernesto Medlin, Derek Sean O'Brien, Efren Perez, Raul Omar Villarreal received death sentences. Venancio Medlin, the younger brother of Jose, testified against the 4 gang members. He was convicted of aggravated sexual assault on September 30th, 1993 for his attack on Jennifer Ertman and received a 40-year prison sentence, the maximum for a juvenile. When the Supreme Court banned executions of people who committed crimes while they were under the age of 18, the sentences of Perez and Villarreal were automatically commuted to life in prison. Perez will become eligible for parole on October 10th, 2029, and Villarreal will be eligible for parole September 20th, 2029. Derek O'Brien was the first to be executed on July 11th, 2006. Before being executed, O'Brien expressed his regrets for his actions to the families of the girls. He then apologized to his family before being executed by lethal injection. In response to accusations from anti-death penalty advocates that capital punishment is a cruel and unusual form of punishment, Elizabeth's father said, "O'Brien's death had occurred peacefully in 20 seconds. I wish to God that my daughter could have died that easily. Put a needle in her arm and just go to sleep. I wish to hell he could have died the way she died."
Absolutely.
Which is something that we've talked about on
Eye for an eye.
here, many times. Like,
Yeah.
when, we ask people, are you for the death penalty? Are you not for the death penalty? I feel like a lot of times, like, sit there and rot,
Yeah.
like, why are you going to get the easy way out? Like, you just go to sleep and you're dead and you don't
That's
have to
it.
deal with it anymore.
Yeah. You don't even have the guilt. You don't even
Nothing.
have anything. It's
Yeah.
just
You're
like,
just done. Like,
yeah.
that's,
But with him, but I know that I was reading where he didn't want a last meal. Like, and he apologized. He was remorseful and
right.
he didn't ask for a last meal.
Yeah. Good. Sorry.
Yeah.
Too little, too late.
Yeah. I know.
You're sorry after the fact. Like, are you sorry you did it, or you sorry you got caught?
Yeah. That this is happening to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, no, it's true.
Because if you didn't get caught, would you just be running the streets, still doing whatever shit you're doing?
Causing havoc.
Who knows?
It takes a sick individual at
Yeah.
that, even though at that age, I'm going to say that, the brain's not fully processed and stuff, but
Right from wrong.
yeah. And if that was the case, we'd have a lot more of the, it's just like, you can't blame it on immaturity. You can't blame, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
yeah.
100% something wrong. So Jose Medlin appealed his execution, stating that he had informed the city of Houston and Harris County police officers that he was a Mexican citizen and that he had been unable to confer with the Mexican consular officials. The prosecutors state that he never told the authorities any such thing. Jose said in a sworn statement that he learned the Mexican consulate could assist him in 1997. He petitioned the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals in 1998. However, the appeal failed. His impending execution became an international controversy since the state did not hold a hearing about whether the inability of Medlin to meet with the Mexican consular officials harmed his defense. The right of a defendant to talk with his or her consulate is specified in the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. The United States is a party to convention, although the U.S. withdrew the compulsory jurisdiction in 1996 to accept the court's jurisdiction only on a case-by-case basis. In 2004, the International Court of Justice responded to a lawsuit filed by Mexico against the U.S. The court ordered hearings to be held for inmates, including Medlin, who were denied consular rights. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
And I know it was a huge thing. Like it kept going back and forth. Like, it's just,
You're
So-
wrong.
yeah,
That's the bottom line. You're wrong.
you committed murder.
That's it. I
You
don't
go to
know.
jail.
Like, and I know that this happens, I think, with most cases like this. I think it's constant. The appeal process is just excruciating. It just goes on forever.
It's
So
long.
it goes
It's a
on
long
forever.
process.
So
and until it reaches the Supreme Appeals Court.
Yeah.
So in 2005, President George W. Bush ordered the hearings to be held. The state of Texas, represented by Solicitor General Ted Cruz, challenged Bush's order, and the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that only the Congress of the United States has the right to order hearings to be held. Those names sound so familiar.
Right?
Ted Cruz,
Yeah.
George W. Bush. Okay. In July, the World Court ordered a stay of Medlin's execution. Governor Rick Perry argued that Texas is not bound to World Court rulings. Death penalty opponents protested the impending execution. The families of Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena strongly favored the execution. Good for Texas at this point.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to good for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
stand by it.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
this is what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, on August 5th, 2008, on my birthday.
On your birthday.
Yeah. At 9:57 p.m., after his last-minute appeals were rejected by the Supreme Court, Jose Medlin was executed. Governor Perry rejected calls from Mexico and Washington, D.C. to delay the execution, citing that the torture, rape, and strangulation of Ertman and Pena as just cause for the death penalty.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, they're just, I feel like they get desperate and they just try to pull all these things out at the end. And it's like,
Yeah.
the story's still the same. You still committed murder. So
Death penalty.
sorry.
Jennifer's father strongly advocated against granting parole to Vinicio Medlin. So that's the younger brother. That's the one who got the 40 years.
Yeah.
He was 14 years old.
So
at
you
the time.
figure, even if he serves 40, he's still 54 years old when he gets out.
Yeah,
Like he still
plenty
has
of life.
life ahead of him.
Plenty. And these girls don't.
Yeah.
So several filings happened on behalf of Peter Cantu between 1997 and 2009. All federal and state requests regarding appeal were denied. Peter Cantu was executed by lethal injection on August 17, 2010 in Huntsville, Texas. This guy's a piece of work. I feel like reading the stories and watching it, he was kind of like the mastermind.
Mm-hmm. He was
the
the gang
ringleader.
leader. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the mastermind and he had no remorse.
None. And
Absolutely
Yeah. He
none.
just barked out the orders and everybody just did as they were told.
Yeah. Following the arrest of Derek O'Brien, investigators learned that Derek, Peter Cantu, and Jose Medlin, all three who were executed for these two girls, had sexually assaulted, raped, and stabbed to death Patricia Lopez, 27, in a back parking lot in Houston's Melrose Park. This is another murder they committed just six months prior
before.
to the two girls. So it wasn't their first rodeo.
Nope. They
So
knew
yes,
exactly what they were doing.
they would have still continued doing what they were doing.
Absolutely.
Yes, they were not remorseful. Like they would have, it would have continued.
Yeah. It wasn't going to stop.
Yeah.
At this age.
Yeah.
Like,
18 years old, 19 years old. Yeah, absolutely. And she was a mother. She was a young mother.
Yep.
You know, it's just the medical examiner determined that besides the stab and slash wounds on Patricia's body, she had also been strangled in a kneeling position. Her body was discovered on January 4th, 1993, just 6 months before the deaths of Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena. Derek O'Brien's fingerprints were compared to beer cans located at both locations and found to be a match. Derek O'Brien confessed to his part in the Patricia Lopez murder during his interview regarding Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena. Seminal DNA evidence from Patricia Lopez, Jennifer Ertman, and Elizabeth Pena was matched to Jose Medlin. All three boys were later implicated in Patricia's murder. Although none of them were charged, Cantu had already been sentenced to death by the time he was linked to the murder. They're all going to be up for execution. Why are you saving these three boys when you know what they're capable of and what they've done? I mean, this girl, her car broke down, I believe, on the side of the road. They pull up, say they're going to help her. They want to, something about they'll help her if she buys them some beer at the liquor store. She agrees, and they take her behind in a back parking lot and kill her.
Yep, and rape her.
Yeah, in the same manner that they did the two girls. It's just disgusting. So Jennifer and Elizabeth were both laid to rest approximately 200 yards from each other at Woodlawn Cemetery in Houston. A memorial for both girls was put at Waltrip High School, where the girls were both students. There's also a memorial that mourners set up at T.C. Jester Park, where the girls perished. And if you recall on one of our previous episodes on the Candyman, some of the boys attended Waltrip High School too.
Yeah.
So this school has and especially during that time, and that story was still fresh. That story was still kind of happening during this time in the 77.
So could you imagine, like, here you have the Texas killing fields going on.
All those girls disappearing.
You have Dean Coral,
Yeah.
the Candyman. All of that going on. And then
In the 80s.
and then these people, like, just, you know, here and there, murders here, murders there. Houston's lost a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
this is a lot, like,
Young people.
yes.
We're not even talking about, like, you know,
not even
you just-
mid-age. This is like teenagers
kids still in school.
between 12 and 19 years old. Like,
Yeah.
that's
It's a lot.
crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. Following the deaths of Ertman and Pena, the Texas criminal justice system underwent legislative reform that would allow family members to address the convicted and now give family members the choice to view executions of those who are guilty of crimes against their perished family members. Before, family members were not allowed to see the executions. Before, family members weren't allowed to give statements, the impact statements at the end of a trial after they were sentenced. And because of these two girls and the family advocating for them, and
we've actually heard,
father
like,
standing
in
up and
some of
talking.
our other cases, not from Texas, but from Wyoming, where the families have, like, stood up and, like, said that they forgive them. And, like,
Yes.
I mean, that's probably, I don't know if you ever get closure from something like this, but this probably helps these families to heal, is to at least be able to say their piece.
To say what they want to say to them.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm sure that goes through your mind over
Of
and over again.
course.
So, and because of these two girls, families are allowed to do that. And because of the families that advocated for it. So before the murders, Houston officials had stated that gangs were not a significant issue in the city. C. Anderson, a Houston Police Department officer who worked on the murder case, described the murder as part of the driving force for the anti-gang programs in Houston. So another positive thing that came out of this. You know, it's a horrible act, but what follows is just so beautiful what the families did.
You have to, at this point, with all of this, I feel like you kind of have to look at the positive sometimes, because
it's just so ugly and so much negative.
It's so
Two
ugly.
granite park benches with the names of two friends who died here the night of June 24th, 1993, just across the bayou beneath a railroad trestle. Jennifer Ertman and Elizabeth Pena, one 14, the other 15, were walking home from a party, taking a shortcut to make their 11 p.m. curfew. Instead, they stumbled onto a gang initiation. They were tortured, assaulted, killed, their bodies found 4 days later. 6 young gang members, all sentenced to death, 3 executed, the rest still in prison now. It was the case that shaped Andy Kahn as the newly appointed crime victims advocate for the city, and he promised their families.
We can't go back and change what happened to your family, but we're going to make things better for others to come along, and your daughters are going to leave a lasting legacy that's going to last for eternity.
Because of their deaths, the state started allowing victim impact statements, and Randy Ertman was the first to give one when he confronted one of his daughter's killers in court.
Look at me! Look! You're not even an animal.
The Ertmans and Penas also witnessed 3 of the killers' executions. The case forced that change in state policy, too. It's a legacy, but for a friend who still misses Jennifer and Elizabeth a quarter century later.
That I miss them and I love them, but they're never going to be forgotten. I mean, I will try to keep their memories alive, you know, as best I can.
This weekend, she continued to do that, a gathering of people, some families of murdered children, who paid tribute to a pair of young lives taken and the impact they made on criminal justice policy.
For
Jennifer and Elizabeth.
Consider, though, their case isn't known by the names of the killers, but the victims. And now those who love them will tell you that's as it should be.
Jennifer Lawson of the Houston Chronicle said that the deaths of the girls shook the Oak Forest neighborhood of Houston to its foundation. Randy Ertman, Jennifer's father, had wanted to have Andy Kahn, the city of Houston's crime advocate, to witness the execution of Jose Medlin. The Texas criminal justice system refused to permit that. On August 18, 2014, Randy Ertman died of lung cancer.
Yeah. But he fought. Like, that man, like, Jennifer's dad was...
He didn't care.
He did not care, and he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that these boys paid for what they did.
Yeah. And there is also video of him standing up in court yelling after the sentencing, you know. And that's what brought about the, you know, the statements that family members can make, because, you know, to have that voice for your child, it's so important.
Yeah, it really is. And to all, you know, everything else that has happened since then, which you obviously know, unfortunately, these things are going to still continue to happen. At least now these things are in place, and families are allowed to make their, you know, do the impact statements, because I think it's a big deal. I think it really is a big deal. And maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't know how it affects the, you know, the people that are on trial.
Some of them have no souls.
Yeah, probably most of them don't, but for the families, I think it's very healing.
The Texas Parole Board has denied parole on several occasions to Venancio Medlin, most recently in 2020. He is scheduled to be released in 2034. So that's without any paroles, right? That's his scheduled release date.
And that's not very far. Like, it's 11 years away.
So I wanted to mention that during the trial, when these boys were on trial, and I'm happy the families had a chance to say something, but I also saw a news report on young girls that were actually defending the gang members that raped and killed these two girls.
Why are they allowed to have character witnesses? I don't understand.
I don't know if they
I guess it's their right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I don't know if they actually went into the court and said it. I just know outside the court, they were talking to reporters. And they were saying how they're there to support the boys that were on trial for this horrendous crime.
They all testified Cantu was vulgar, violent, and threatening. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty because they believe he is beyond rehabilitation. But Cantu's friends say authorities are unfairly bringing up old problems.
They're taking the bad side of the story of him. They're not taking the good side of him. I mean, he is being good to us and everything. He's being there for us, and his argument to be there for him.
Morales says she's the girlfriend of one of the other four men charged with capital murder in the same case. Each will be tried.
If you're doing this to people, I don't give a shit what you do.
You're not a good person.
I don't care how many good things you do.
You're just not a good person.
You're not a good person.
Yeah, it's like
if you can do the stuff that these boys did to these two girls.
Yeah.
You're just.
I mean, even if it was a drive-by shooting, which was so common back in the 80s. If I even knew that somebody did a drive-by shooting and killed somebody, a guy, it's just like, you're done. Like,
you're a shitbag.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. You took somebody's life.
Yep.
And so to sit there and say like, oh, you know, you didn't know them beforehand. You know, you're only saying all the bad stuff about them. And like, that's all that they're made up of at this point. In future, they are murderers. They're shit.
Yeah, that's it.
Bags, and that's it. That's just who they are.
These poor girls, you know, it's just crazy to think that they were going to a party. How many pool parties did you go to?
Having a good time.
My best friend growing up had a pool in her backyard. I would walk around the block, probably in the summer, every single day.
Yeah,
just to go swimming. And I would just tell my mom, oh, going to Wendy's house, gonna go swimming. Okay, bye. I mean, it's just stuff that we did all the time. And these two girls just, oh, we're gonna take a shortcut home through a park.
Yeah. They're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And it makes me question everything. Like stuff like this just makes me question so many things. Like why does this stuff happen?
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand. Why do things like this happen?
Yeah. And I do feel for the families, like for the families of the perpetrators as well, because
of course,
I would feel horrible if I raised a child that did that.
Yes.
Like it's just the guilt I would have that I brought this evil seed into the world. Mm-hmm. Like it would just be such a burden on me.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. That I do feel for them, but there's no defense for your, like, as much as you want to save your child, do you really want, like, they deserve to be in jail. They deserve what they got. And as much as I love my children, if my child did something that horrendous with no remorse, I disown them.
I
don't know.
It makes me think of the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case, which we are at some point going to cover because we did visit. We did visit that that area when we went to Wyoming. But, for a long time, everybody was saying that Brian Laundrie's parents were, protecting him and covering up for him and hiding him and this, that, and the other. And I think that it's real easy for anybody to sit here and say what they would do.
Yeah.
And to sit here and say, like, I would never do that. I would turn my kid in. But I think when you're in that situation, I don't think anybody knows what they would do until they're faced with that decision.
That is true.
Because sitting here right now, I would say if either one of my kids did something like this, you couldn't support them, you know? But when you're in that situation, I think, and having to make choices, I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Oh, it's true.
But at the end of the day, they're still all a piece of shit, but
yeah.
Nevertheless, I feel for those families.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the victims' families too.
Oh yeah.
But that's got to be a really hard spot to be in.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. So that was our story.
That wraps it up for this story.
On those two girls, and we are. I don't know. We're probably going to be doing shortly a video on Waco, because we did visit Waco.
Yes, we did.
We're gonna try to maybe do it in a 1-part thing. Ooh. It's a big story. I don't know, but
I think we can do it.
Yeah, but that should be coming within the next few weeks, and then we also have a really, really, really good interview that we did, which is a 2-parter coming up. And that is a collaboration that we did with Rare From Radio.
Yes.
So we have some cool things lined up.
Yeah.
And then Shannon and I are going to be taking a trip to San Diego next week. We're going to be visiting the Whaley House, doing a paranormal investigation. So
I am so excited.
Yeah.
So
we're very excited for that. Other than that, I don't know.
That's it. It's a wrap.
That's it. All right. Well, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at 50 Shades of Madness. And if you would like to support us, thank you to our Patreons. We are at patreon.com/50 Shades of Madness. And if you don't have anything else, then I guess I don't have anything else either. And we'll see you next week.